All right, we are going live now. Should be live. So, welcome and thank you for joining this morning. If it is morning for you as well. Today, I just wanted to kind of be on here for about 20 minutes, probably. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things. I'll field your questions as well. I know I already saw a comment about why are we even talking about the stock price. Well, so like of course this is a long-term channel and I'm focused on the long term of Palantir, but I think it's very important to have the context of the short term and the stock movement, not to be overly focused on it or worried about it necessarily, as long as a long-term thesis is still intact, but to understand kind of where the business is, but also to detach the business from the stock price, which is very important. So first thing I'll say is here, we'll see Palantir year to date is down about, I think, 18% from around $25 in January, which is not looking too good. So basically, again, I wanted to say we need to sort of separate the stock price from the actual company itself, but a lot of this is macro. Now we have the whole Fed kind of issues there, and then now we have this new variant which is weighing down markets all over the place. But what I did want to point out is actually when you compare Palantir to sort of the rest of sort of innovation stocks, if you will. So here we have ARK-K, which is, of course, ARK Invest's flagship fund, which if we look at ARK's year to date, it's down more than 20%. So Palantir is actually outperforming ARK-K. Again, not outperforming necessarily in a good way, meaning positive returns, but in a relative sense is outperforming ARK-K. So I just wanted to add that perspective. So of course, this is not looking good in the present moment. Again, if you have a long time horizon, it probably looks completely different. But I did just want to bring up sort of ARK Invest, Cathie Wood always gets sort of complaint. It gets lots of complaints and has to deal with sort of their funds collapsing when that did happen back in May. Palantir was at these levels back in May. If we just look at the Palantir chart, yeah, so we're sort of retracing levels back to May here. And let me just check the chat, make sure everything's good. Yes, okay. I'll get to your comments in a moment. But what has Cathie Wood said? Cathie Wood has said that she expects her funds to quadruple over the next 5 years. So this is a point where you say, do I believe Cathie or do I not? Do I trust Cathie and sort of align with her values and her ways of valuing companies? So that's something you can say. But she is the definition of a medium to long-term investor. And I say medium term because she's looking at a 5-year time horizon, which is certainly in the long term, but could be looking farther out. They model for 5 years. Anyway, she has said this. She said previously, so originally they expect their funds to double over 5 years, which is a 15% return. Then at the crash in May of this year, she said they expect their funds to triple. Now she's saying they expect their funds to quadruple, okay? And she's not just saying that because she wants to lure in investors. She's saying that because she has the math and the sort of numbers to back it up. Now, sure, she's biased and she wants to come out and say, come invest in our funds. But I think it's worth noting that if she expects a quadruple over the next 5 years, that's the minimum hurdle rate of return. We've talked about this before. So for Palantir to quadruple over the next 5 years, that's probably about what ARK Invest is expecting. So do you believe them? Do you see that as a possible outcome, or are you focused on the short term in that sense? So more to come on sort of the stock price, just from my perspective, but we do have some news today from Palantir. It is not moving the stock price at all. Let's just check back in on the stock is up 0.5%. No big change there, but we do have this first piece of news here, which is Palantir secures an additional $43 million contract from Space Systems Command. Now, before I get into this, I just want to say that I think the real driver of Palantir, as we've seen from the stock over this pretty much a year, is actually the earnings reports. So we just had that earnings report and the stock has sort of fallen off, but we have had times where the stock rallies after an earnings report. I really think the biggest moves naturally come after an earnings report. So we haven't really seen big percentage moves from the announcement of contracts. So that's the thing. I'm trying to figure out when could we expect Palantir to sort of show some support or well, like when the stock's going to get going again. Again, not for trading. I'm just wondering. I'm just thinking about it. So here we have the announcement. So Palantir announced that the Space Systems Command's Cross Mission Ground and Communications Enterprise, that's quite an acronym, awarded it a $43 million contract to continue its delivery of data and decision. Okay, so apparently I wasn't aware of this. They've already, so they're continuing the contract. Okay. Data and decision platform to support national security objectives. This $43 million contract is an additional extension, okay, expanding upon previous awards from April and August this year. Okay, I must have just forgotten. The total cumulative face value of the contract is $91.5 million. Okay, great. We don't need to get into the super big specifics. Oh, Warp Core. Okay, we were just looking at that in the previous live stream. That's the name of the, yeah, okay. So yeah, this is what Sham had, okay. Sorry, I was a little confused at first because I haven't read this yet. Warp Core's work also extends beyond space domain awareness missions and was recently used by SSC and its partners to assist the evacuation of U.S. allies from Afghanistan. Okay. So let's see what Doug Filippone had to say about this. The threat to our nation is in and through the space domain are very special, as we've seen in recent weeks. We must continue to advance our nation's space domain awareness capabilities, he said, and we're very proud to have consistently earned the confidence of this innovative organization and to continue our partnership. Okay. So not huge news, but definitely good news. Let's look. There was another announcement that I haven't opened yet. Palantir and Kinder Morgan signed multi-year agreement to strengthen pipeline operations. Okay, very nice. And both of these have come out today, this morning. Let's take a look here. Palantir, a leading builder of operating, okay, we know that. Kinder Morgan, okay, they partnered with Kinder Morgan. Okay, this is a public company. Interesting. We'll have to look into that in a moment. One of the least energy infrastructure, one of the largest, let me get that right, largest energy infrastructure companies in North America today announced a multi-year partnership to deploy Palantir's data integration software platform, Foundry, in Kinder Morgan's storage operations to drive efficiency and safety. Kinder Morgan will deploy Foundry to optimize its US-based gas storage operations. Operators and decision makers will be provided with a common operating picture of the company's infrastructure, connecting transactional systems, data streams, analysis, and operations over supply. Okay, we get the idea. With real-time access to information, Foundry will enable Kinder Morgan to make data-driven decisions on their operations. All right. Okay, here we have our classic quote from Sham. Let's see what he has to say. Palantir COO. Safety, reliability, and affordability are critical to the nation's energy infrastructure. Utilizing Foundry will strengthen Kinder Morgan's ability to maintain its lead in those fields. Energy companies like Kinder Morgan have vast amounts of data from disparate sources that rarely interact, and we believe Foundry is the best tool on the market to solve this complex problem. Okay, very nice. I like the look of this contract, or partnership, I should say. Okay. Their CIO says, in our business, we put a premium on doing things safely. To be able to also move at such speed is extremely valuable. Sorry if I am, oh, who dares wins. I've never seen that from Palantir before. Anyway, sorry if I was stuttering there. It's, I pretty much just woke up. So let me check in on the chat here. Two new deals. Yes, yeah, I was just going over those. It's yeah, pretty much. So let's have a look at Just to review the ARK Invest ownership of Palantir. Let's see. Were there any changes? This could be a little delayed. I don't know if they bought yesterday. I didn't see anything. I'm not subscribed to the ARK Invest mailing list because I actually find their emails for the trade notifications rather annoying because I only care about two stocks. That's Palantir and Tesla. But anyway, no, it doesn't look like we have an update just yet. Correct me if that is incorrect, but yeah, here it is. Here it is. Other piece of news. I'm not going to play this right now. I probably won't make a video about it, but I wanted to cover it here. Is this, if you haven't seen it, this new video on Palantir's channel, which is pretty much Alex Karp interviewing, let me get this right, speaking with the software engineering lead about the Palantir AI interface platform. Okay, AIP. They didn't actually, anyway, very technical, not too hard to understand, but it's interesting to see sort of Karp is asking this guy questions. Of course, they're in Karp's barn in New Hampshire. He said this is where all great things happen. It's the center of the universe. He's kind of just joking there. He's a pretty funny guy. Anyway, the deal here, the takeaway that I had is that while Alex Karp does not have a sort of software engineering background, he's able to sort of, as you'll see with his questioning, sort of push this engineer and say like, so why is that? So what does that mean? So what does that mean for us, for Palantir? What can we do to improve? So I think there is a benefit to a perspective from a non-engineer. That's just what I took away. Not really any news, I would say, from this. They're just kind of going over the benefits of what Palantir is doing. So that's what I wanted to cover for that. Let me see. Let me stop sharing and then start sharing it again. Share screen for a Chrome tab. We can just stay on this for now. But let me see what kind of questions we've got. I'm going back to the top. Stop worrying about the daily price move. And I kind of covered why I'm looking at it. Like, of course, you're invested in the company. You want to know what the stock's doing. Like, you could just erase your password, but or not erase your password, just forget your password or give it to someone else. But I think there is definitely a benefit to being able to look at a stock price as a long-term investor and say, what is the market not understanding here? And I think right now, it's not only the company is detached from the stock, it's the stock is getting yanked because of the macro environment. So I think it's also just part of education. You kind of check yourself, see like, this is what I think is going to happen. This is what actually happened later on. So I think it's worth looking at the stock price. Yeah, I don't have money to buy the dip anymore. Yep. I feel that. Do we see 17? Today, I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you what's going to happen at any time in the future. What I will say is, yeah, there's a possibility that Palantir continues lower. It broke through 22, 21, 20. I think it's really right now, a lot of the weak hands have been shaken out. So I think it's macro dependent at this point. So I don't know. It's just like, I think a lot of individual investors, retail investors that were in it for the momentum are now gone. So, um, so yeah, you could, I mean, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm going to hold my shares, but yeah, it's tough in moments like these. It is tough to hold your shares and well, not just hold the shares, but to see the price continually decline. But that's just part of the risk with investing. Thank you, Tim. Okay. Kathy is, yeah, Kathy, it's tough for her too, especially when she's managing so many people's money and their funds are really getting whacked. They're really getting hit. They're getting hit hard. ARKK is under $100 again, and the only time it was under 100, I think this year was back in May. So we're sort of retracing relative lows once again for growth stocks have just gotten hit in the macro environment. 2 new deals for Palantir. We covered that. And let's see what else. Yeah, so this is a moment when you say we're under $20. Personally, I like the company the more the stock decreases, right? Because the way you should think about things, it's kind of emotionally counterintuitive, but the way you should think about things is there is more risk the higher the stock price goes. As a stock price declines, there's actually less risk for an investment. It's hard to think of things that way. And this is kind of ignoring momentum, ignoring trading and all of that. But if you actually think about it, if you buy a stock price lower, that's always a good thing, right? So that's just one way of thinking about it. Yeah, I certainly like Palantir under 20. We'll see how low it can go. And in a moment, we're going to look at the leaps for Palantir because I don't own any options for Palantir just yet, but I'm looking at them once I can get some more money into my account. Yeah, Kathy's driving the bus. Okay, maybe buy call the lock in price now if we don't have any spare cash. All right, I'm gonna look at the options in just a second. Who dresses these guys? They just do their own thing. Unless you're talking about me, I'm just wearing a black shirt. Just a second. Let me see. Why is it selling so hard? I think we came out of earnings. There was a lot of hype going into earnings. I was hyped going into earnings, and we didn't see the break, right? We didn't see the break past $30 a share. So there was an implied move of 10%, which would have put Palantir back past $30, but instead it was a negative move. There was a negative reaction to the earnings call, some of the earnings numbers. The earnings call was kind of not very encouraging. So I think that put us down, down to 26, down to 25. The market's been bleeding, but Palantir really didn't have any reason to bounce, right? We had just come out of earnings, and what I was just saying is Palantir as a stock seems to trade along the earnings releases. It doesn't really trade as we've seen with other news. Of course, not looking at the macro. Let's see. Always good to check the stock price to buy more dips, but always remember not to sell on these dips or do stupid things. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Never know what the right move is, really. Unless, of course, you are looking at the long time horizon and you're correct on your thesis. If your thesis in Palantir has changed, do something about it. I think a lot of retail investors lost all their money in margin calls, so they were forced to sell. It's possible. Does anyone know the margin requirement for Palantir? The maintenance requirement? I'd be interested to know. The business itself has not changed in the past weeks. That is true. But the sentiment around the business has. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I think we will reversal because of their additional. Yeah, let me just check the stock real quick. No, the stock's up 5 cents. It's with this news as well. But who knows? Who knows? We've seen Palantir make big moves once the market opens. Palantir has such good fundamentals, no way going to sell. So here's the thing about that, though, right? So it's really Palantir's valuation and stock price today is really all about their just 1 second. I think I'm going to play this video in the background because I think that would be cool without the sound. I hope no sound is coming through. But yeah, so
here
the
we
thing
are
about the
in New
stock
Hampshire,
price
the center of the
is
universe,
that
what's
going on
where so many things happen. And we were talking about some of the stuff you guys are working on. And Palantir has had
Anyway, the stock price is
many
based on the
iterations
multiples and
where
sort of
we
the
build products and we
valuation right now.
standardize them.
I mean, you could look at price to
because our
sales or
clients
whatever.
rely
So
on them,
if growth stocks are getting
especially in
hit,
the national
those
security
multiples are getting
context.
slashed.
Each time we have like a
So while the
cascading,
fundamentals may be there,
thing
right,
where you
'cause
have
they
this
are, the
maximally
growth is
creative
there,
focus, and then it has to be
the market just might not be having it. There's a
standardized.
rotation out of
You
growth
guys
stocks.
are
There
kind
has
of in
been.
the beginning of
The whole market is down, especially
cascading,
software
chaotic,
companies. There's a flight to
creative
safety right now. Yes.
So I'm Rob Imig.
People say buy the dip, but surely there's a
software
point where
engineer
it might
lead, been at Palantir about
yeah.
10 years.
AIP,
Yeah, you have to
what's the
consider all sort of
technical challenge
possible
we're actually
scenarios.
solving? Why is it
Say
important?
like,
Yeah, so
if
the
Palantir
big
stock drops to
the big change
15,
is shifting
I don't think it
compute
will.
to the edge.
It could.
So
I'm saying it could.
instead of bringing your
You, like,
data back into
build
a
a
Foundry
spreadsheet
or a
and say, like,
Gotham and
these
making
are all
your
the different
decisions in
prices.
some ground
And just like think it
environment or
through.
cloud environment.
Like I can't make the decision for
We're
you.
actually like
You
moving the
certainly wouldn't want me
logic
to.
and moving
I'm buying, I
AI,
was
but
waiting for
not
this
only
moment. Good
AI,
for
also
you.
just like transforms, physics,
Less risk
math,
only
but
when the
moving that
fundamentals are
logic
good.
out to the edge
Just the case for Palantir.
to actually
Glad
run
you
on
think so.
aircraft, on boats, satellites, ground
All right,
vehicles.
let me see.
We've deployed
And
this.
what are like moving
10-year price target
transforms
for
and
Palantir.
logic
You
to
know,
the
we were
edge?
just looking at
Why is
we were
that
just
difficult?
looking at the
Yeah, so
from a technical perspective?
it's difficult from a technical perspective because you don't
okay.
have
Mute
all
the video.
the
Is
power
the video
of
going?
Foundry or a Gotham
Oh my
there. So you
God, I
have
don't
to
think it is. I
figure
think
out how
it's-
to.
There we go. Good thing I checked. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna mute this video if both can. All right, did I fix it? Did I fix it? Please tell me I fixed it. Waiting for a mute the video. There was sound from the video, but can you please check? I just mute. Okay, thanks. Does that mean it's good? Does that mean it's good? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Tom. I was higher in the chat. All right. Mute the video. Okay. My apologies, guys. It's not always the easiest to do this. Thought it would be a cool effect to have the video in the background, but apparently not. How many Palantir am I sitting on? I will share that at some point, probably next month when I'm actually able to buy some more. Buying the dip is always hard. You never know when the dip will end. Yeah. So the question is, right? The question becomes, do you want to buy on the way down or do you want to buy on the way up? Or do you want to just buy all the time? Split it. Yeah. Different strategies for different people. 10-year price target. Oh, that's what I had clicked on before. Yeah, we were looking at 500 billion. I think half a trillion in 10 years is probably what I'm sitting at now. And that's without a consumer product. If they announce a consumer product, that completely changes my expectations. Tom said he sold all his Palantir shares. Tom, thank you for joining. Thank you for hopping on to buy Nikola and Enron. Well, Nikola, you're buying the dip there. I don't know how you could buy Enron. It's crazy how Nikola is still at its IPO price. Okay. Difficult to hear. Yes. All right. Glad I fixed that. Let's see what else. Sounded like a Zoom call. All right. Glad I fixed that. Now I want to talk about just to look at the options. And I need to share my tab, Chrome tab, Palantir options. So I'm in Robinhood just because it's easiest. I don't have any money in Robinhood. I'm actually with Schwab, but leaps. So I'm not completely adept with if that's the right word. I don't really know what I'm doing entirely. I sort of understand how they work, but leaps for Palantir right now seem to be, of course, they usually are the safest option. The more time you add, the more of a probability there is that the actual stock will catch up to your price. So I don't know if I'm gonna buy leaps. I think I will at some point. Again, I said when I'm able to get some more money into my account, I'm thinking about it. Now, the nice thing about a low share price, right? And I'm saying low meaning it's not $1,000 like Tesla. It's $20. The nice thing about that is the actual options are less expensive. So anyway, so leaps. So right now, this is the farthest out it goes. I would love to know if someone's able to tell me when what is it? Is it the? I want to know when the next options chain is going to come out for. Is it March? What's the one that comes after January for leaps? Oh, I guess Palantir doesn't even have it. Okay. Well, so what I'm looking at for Palantir is essentially a stock replacement strategy, meaning instead of buying a certain percentage of shares, I'll allocate that to some leaps. So what I'm liking about the pricing here is that the 25 strike has a break even of approximately $30. So what that means is I'm betting that Palantir stock will be above $30 in essentially 2 years because the expiry for these leaps, this is as far out as it goes, is January 19th, 2024. So I don't know. The thing about leaps is obviously, or any options really, is it adds a ton of risk, and the value can decrease very substantially, very rapidly, but then it does provide that upside. So I would be betting, and I will take this bet. I'm planning on it, that Palantir will be above $30 in 2 years. I don't think that's an incorrect bet, but yeah, essentially. Let's play with the options calculator and get excited. Okay, so let's see. This stock goes up 75%. That would essentially double this option. See, that's the thing I don't get. I was looking at these before. That doesn't look like a tremendous return. So this would essentially be saying, I'm willing to take the risk. Options, of course, can go to zero, but I'm willing to take the risk to sort of have an option, which is obviously in the name, to capture a lot of upside. So Palantir was at $45 earlier this year. Like, we know it's possible. And just for some commentary on that, I'd say Palantir has lost all retail momentum at this point. Okay, that's clear. The retailers are selling to the institutional investors and just buy shares instead. Yeah, I'm not thinking about doing a ton of leaps, but I'm thinking about it. I haven't yet. I could have. I was still against it. Don't you? Didn't you have that guy that bought 30K in Tesla options? Yeah. Yeah, that's Bruce Burnsworth. Burnworth? Burnworth. I think I got his last name wrong. But yes, like, options can do amazing things. They do not 95% of the time, right? Or more than that. I just basically, if you want to think of it a different way, I'm paying $500 to be able to buy Palantir stock at $25 for 100 shares. I'm paying $500 for 100 shares at 25 in 2 years. Now, I like that. Basically, it means I'm going to buy Palantir stock at $30 in 2 years. Otherwise, I'm losing $500 and the stock is actually below that. So basically, simplifying it, I'm thinking about it, not entirely committed just yet, but I wanted to, like, obviously, the lower the stock goes, the options are actually magnified returns naturally. So essentially, if we see a Palantir stock rebound, the options, of course, will follow that and actually magnify it. But I'm sure there are many of you that know way more about options than I do. But I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something else. Let me see. Yes, he did. We're still on Bruce here. Bruce. He did lose a lot of money on Tesla. 45 was on. Yeah. Okay, this was the train of thought. 45 and the Wall Street bets pump. We've lost the retail momentum. Now, the question is that for good, right? And probably it's not for good. It's just for the time being. But we have seen how retail momentum can do amazing things for this stock. We saw the stock double because of retail momentum largely. And now we've seen it decline rapidly as individual investors are selling to the actual institutions who are stocking up on Palantir stock. All right. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking. Was there some material information, or is this just for a chill out? I'm not sure what that means. Options are basically just leverage shares. Your buying power is getting increased exposure compared to shares. Buying a leap is fine if your conviction stays bullish. Yeah. Okay. It's all about risk tolerance. I'd like to put 10% of my holdings in them for strong conviction stocks. Okay. With options, I turned $250 into 8K with AMC in a few days, then back to zero. So you lost it all. Yes, that is definitely a possibility. I'm sorry if that did happen. Options are a great way to lock in a buy if you have great conviction because it gives you the option to strike them over time as you make money from salary. All right, kind of lost me there, but yes, that is the idea here. Is it essentially a way to get it to sort of get the option to buy Palantir shares in the future, and then that's what options are for. You exercise the options, all of a sudden you're owning more stock. Personally, I think it's worth it just to purchase 100 shares outright. I've never actually sold covered calls. I'm kind of actually worried about that. Like I don't want to really be like, I know Palantir is literally the definition of the perfect stock to do it. I guess I should try, but I've never done it. Leaps or call, they're one and the same. As far as I know, you're better off buying the 25 call and selling the 35 call. That's too advanced for me. That way you get the spread and you can buy more shares. Sure. Leaps. Smart money is buying. Yes, we've seen it. Go buy crypto. All right. Don't be fooled, guys. Palantir is overvalued even at $5. Okay. Interesting thought. Yeah. So anyway, that wraps it up. Pretty much, I wanted to just sort of talk about all of this. I'm thinking about buying Palantir Leaps. Yeah. I want to own more Palantir stock. I like it the lower it goes. I know a lot of you own so much Palantir, so I really feel for you as the stock declines, and of course it hurts me too. But we saw some news. Let me check the stock real quick. The stock is flat. Nothing's happened. 1938, unless that price is wrong. We'll see what happens. There is really no clear signs right now of support. Again, I think it's a macro story at this point in the short term. Wanted to share my thoughts. We have 2 new pieces of good news. There's the Alex Karp interview if you want to watch that for 5 minutes. And ARK Invest has been collapsing, but she says her stocks will deliver 4x over 5 years. That would put Palantir stock at $80 a share, which is actually what we were looking at Bloomberg was telling us. But I think we will cut it here for now. What do I think will happen for Palantir today? You know what? Let me take a guess. Please do not trade this. You might actually want to trade against this. Let me see. I wouldn't be surprised. Let me see how the market's doing right now, actually. Let's take a look. I wouldn't be surprised to see some declines at the open just across the board and then a bounce. I think a lot of people are scared. There's a lot of fear. So I think we could get a test of 19 at the open. I would be surprised if we just got slaughtered today. I don't know. That's just me. You might want to trade against that. This is what I'm thinking. I'm not trading it. But anyway, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you guys for joining, and leave any other sort of discussion topics you have in the comments for this video once it is done. Let me just address this. So this is a pump and dump meme stock. No, because there's a real company behind this, all right? There was a meme aspect to it because Palantir was already on Wall Street Bet's radar during the AMC GME stuff. But no, this is a great company, all right? The stock is not great, and it hasn't been. That doesn't mean it won't be great in the future, all right? But right now, Palantir stock under 20 again. Not something I had expected, but yeah, go ahead, kind of check what you're looking for, what you're expecting, and how you can deal with all sorts of scenarios. Yeah, once again, thank you for joining, and I will have more content coming your way. Until next time.